Mike, here we are sitting in front of the Christmas tree.
As glorious as it ever was.
We've got, interestingly, the lectionary for Sunday seems to have the Candlemas lectionary, regardless of whether you're observing Candlemas or not, which is slightly puzzling. But it is the story of Jesus' presentation in the temple, and you've probably had some thoughts about that.
So, unusually, two of the heroes of this story, of the presentation of the baby Jesus 40 years after his birth by his parents in the temple.
40
days, sorry, not 40 years. 40 days after the birth.
Sharp as a tack.
40 days, yeah. Two of the heroes are Simeon and Anna, which is very unusual by Hollywood standards because, of course, they're very old, both of them, old heroes. And Simeon talks about, on seeing Jesus, that this is the consolation of Israel. And Anna talks about how it is the redemption of Jerusalem that we see in this person. Which, when you kind of like unwrap it, really means they recognize the Messiah in this person, in this baby, this 40-day-old baby. So, contrary to the expectations around them of a Messiah of, along the lines of a Napoleon or an Eisenhower or somebody like that, they are able to see remarkably in this baby from this relatively poor family coming in from the sticks, the Messiah. And they're able to see it because they are prophets. And prophets, I take it to mean in this instance, one who is inspired by the Holy Spirit, enabled by the Holy Spirit to see that which others cannot see. So, and when I think of the presentation in the temple, the first picture in my mind is Rembrandt's presentation in the temple. Do you know that? Which is just, I think, brilliant. It's this scene of this vast temple with loads of people milling around in it. So, and in one part of the picture, admittedly the central part, Simeon is realizing who this is before him in this baby, and there's a shaft of light coming down. But in the distance, you see the high priest silhouetted, and the high priest is turning away in a different direction. So you've got this kind of like a sense of the scale of it, a sense of the kind of indifference of the vast crowd, including the religious establishment. But you've also got the real Jewishness of this scene. And of course, that's what Luke is partly communicating to us here. What do we see? We see law and prophets here. We see Mary fulfilling the law, buying back her firstborn, and we see the prophets in terms of Anna in particular, the prophetess. And who is the fulfillment of the law and the prophets? The baby Jesus. So Luke is seems to me pushing under our noses the Jewishness of this situation, and it's and Jesus as a Jewish fulfillment of this in the presentation. And if Simeon and Anna are heroes of this, why are they heroes? Well, Simeon points out that to meet and engage with Christ is the most important thing that you can do in life. Effectively, isn't it? The way he's spent his life and awaiting this.
Waiting for it.
This is it. Yeah. And what does Anna embody? Hope in engaging with the person of Christ and consequent praise and witness to others. So if we're preaching on this on Sunday, for instance, I mean, it bleeds in beautifully if it's Eucharistic, because guess what? You're about to receive and engage with the risen Lord in the sacrament, so in word and sacrament. So one of the questions arising from Simeon and Anna for us in our walk of faith, in terms of them modelling it, is have we been sufficiently disciplined by our sacramental participation in the life of the church to recognize Jesus when he appears in our midst.
Mhm.
And that seems to me a fairly significant question arising from the presentation. So that's kind of where I was. Where
So
were you?
let me just pick up on. I mean, you commented about Simeon and Anna as prophets, and of course the great theme or one of the great themes in Luke's gospel is prophecy and fulfillment. So he's setting the scene, and the whole nativity sequence is setting the scene of prophecy and fulfillment. And just reflecting on the canticles, so we've got the Magnificat and the Benedictus and now the Nunc Dimittis. They are all prophetic declarations of who this person will be and what will happen because of him.
Yeah.
And whether that's Zechariah or Mary, and now Simeon, and you've got two things going on. I think if we just take Simeon, one is his own sense of consolation. He has, this is the consolation, and I now can be released from this. So so there's something profoundly personal about the fulfillment, but it's also, it's the light to lighten the Gentiles. So what Simeon adds, as it were, to what we've heard from Mary and from Zechariah, is this opening up of the promise to Israel, opening up to the world. And if you take looking at Luke's pairing of the Gospel and Acts, that then gets picked up right at the end in Acts 28, I think, where Paul talks about this being for the Gentiles. And so you've this sense of the fulfillment of this prophecy, of the coming of the Messiah, is now opened up for all people. And I suppose where I think Luke is really key. When I read Luke's Gospel, always a sense of you're being invited to participate in this story, and we locate ourselves in the period of the fulfillment. So we spend a great deal of time thinking nothing's going on, God's not around, this is gone wrong, that's going wrong, and all of our kind of self-serving pitying about the state of the church. This is the time of fulfillment, and what your point about have our disciplines enabled us to see Christ present among us, or have we disciplined our minds in such a miserable way that all we can see is his absence? And actually, this is the time of fulfillment. So let's make sure we are disciplining ourselves to see that which is before our eyes, or indeed, as you say, in the Eucharist, in our arms, as he was for Simeon.
Yeah. And I guess one of the reasons we don't recognise it is because this isn't the kind of salvation we wanted. We wanted somebody to crush our enemies and powerfully with us, and preferably through us, empowering us, enable us to solve all the problems that we felt we had before us and be everything that we wanted to be.
But Simeon makes it clear that that's not the salvation we're being given, because a sword will perish your own soul also.
Yeah, we don't get to make up our own salvation. It's offered to us and we're to enter into it. Yeah.
And some of it's going to be painful.
Amen.
Well, I wasn't going to amen on the painful bit. I was going to say, and joyful.
And joyful. Yeah, because it is ultimately the way of life.
Yeah, now you can say amen.
Amen again.